Hi, this is Rabbi Fleschel giving you something special on Animal Torah. And this is Pasha Shmini, which means I'm extra excited because we're dealing with the laws of Kashrut and also laws of how to identify certain animals in the Torah. He has two questions. Number one is honey kosher? And number two is caviar, fish's eggs, kosher? So we have to speak about one certain rule in the Torah. Anything that comes from an animal, like milk, or in this case, honey, it can only be kosher if the animal itself is kosher. Therefore, pig's milk will not be kosher, but cow's milk will. So we always eat honey. So how is honey kosher? A bee is not a kosher insect or animal. So the reason why honey is kosher is because honey itself doesn't come from the bee. It happens to be in the bee's mouth and the bee happens to spit it out. But because it doesn't come from the bee itself, honey, and luckily for us, is kosher. Of course, in the Torah itself, it says, Israel is a land of milk and honey. But it is not talking about honey from a bee. It's actually talking about honey that comes from either figs or dates. And then what about our second question? What about caviar? That's eggs that come from fish. So once again, the eggs itself, the caviar, has to come from a kosher fish. Of course, the common black caviar comes from a sturgeon. And is a sturgeon kosher or not? So what makes a fish kosher is if it has fins and scales. But it's not any type of scales. The Torah says that scales that make a fish kosher, if you pull it off, it comes off easily. It's like a garment opposed to be part of the skin. Sturgeon do not fulfill that role. And you have to tear it off. You tear it off, it causes damage to the fish itself. The reason why some people thought that maybe sturgeon was kosher was because once you put it in hot water or you medicate it in a different way, then that's when the scales will come off. But in Torah law, we do not hold that it is kosher, and therefore black caviar is not kosher. However, I have had caviar, some certain kosher fish you can, and maybe it doesn't taste exactly like black caviar, but we can have certain caviar, certain eggs of fish from fish that is kosher. Anyway, thank you. Enjoy the Pasha because it's always exciting when we learn about different things about animals. And of course, we're going deeper into Animal Torah itself. This is Rabbi Fleschel giving you something special on Animal Torah.